close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a lantern on the edge of a wooden pier, its flames stuttering as a river breeze passes. Down the street, a bell sounds, soft, measured, and somewhere between a market stall and a temple gate, someone turns back a blanket for another hour of watch. Who keeps the night while we sleep? Who tends to the hush, to the small lights, to the fragile rituals that make evening livable in town and village alike? Tonight, I want to walk that thin line between dusk and dawn and listen.
Welcome to Ancient Echoes. I'm Sam Nang Bradley, and this episode is a single-voice walk after dark. I want to be clear at the start. When you go looking for night scenes, markets, pagodas, riverbanks, consent matters. Ask before you record. Avoid isolated places at night, and if in doubt, bring a local guide. I'll give short Khmer English phrases later you can use, and always prioritize safety over the perfect shot. For now, let's sit with the sounds and the people who keep evenings safe, sacred, and awake.
First, who keeps the night? The roles are simple in name, but rich in meaning. At many pagodas, a sentinel or watchman will sit at the gate through the hour when offerings have ended and the compound settles. Markets, especially night markets, manage rotating shifts. Vendors nap in short staves between calls, younger relatives stand to guard wares, and an older vendor checks the stalls before dawn. Along rivers, lookouts and boatmen remember channels by starlight and call out to guide newcomers. Neighborhood volunteers sometimes ring a small bell on patrol, a practice that marks presence and wards off worry. Even cemeteries have attendants who tend lanterns and flowers on certain nights. These roles are practical, keeping property, guiding boats, but they are also social acts, a form of mutual care that binds families and neighbors together. Let me bring you closer, sound by sound. Picture a pagoda, sentinel on a woven mat, polishing a small alms bowl by the light of a kerosene lamp. He blows on his fingers, sips a hot, sweet tea, and hums a line of devotion that isn't loud but steady. Later, a market vendor. He leans back in his stall, eyes half closed, the radio playing a faint song. He rotates his watch with a cousin, waking with a soft nod to check the cash box. On the river, a boatman steps barefoot, checks his lantern's wick, and calls a neighbor's name across the dark water to confirm a mooring. An elder at a village gate walks the lantern circuit, pausing at shrines to lay a simple offering, rice, a folded leaf, then returns to his bench until the first roosters hint at dawn. These are small rituals, but they map the night, where people stand, how they move, what they protect.
We should talk about how people learn this work. Apprenticeship is often informal. A grandson sits with a pagoda watchman and learns which lanterns to tend, which paths to sweep, and how to read the weather by smell. In markets, daughters and sons learn the choreography of shift keeping, how to wake someone without startling the whole stall, how to hide a little cash, how to greet a police patrol without fuss. There are gendered patterns too. Some night roles fall more often to men, river lookouts, late-hour vendors in certain areas, while women often manage household night shifts and temple rituals. Payment varies, sometimes cash wages, sometimes in-kind reciprocity, a bowl of soup, a place to sleep, a village favor owed. I don't want to romanticize exhaustion. Many of these workers shoulder long hours because options are limited. If you want to help, buy a night meal, leave a tip, or support vetted community funds rather than assuming a story of noble endurance.
Ritual and safety often fold into one another. Bell ringing in a pagoda is both a devotional rhythm and a neighborhood signal. Lantern circuits light paths for travelers and mark caring presence. Small offerings laid at dusk are prayers for protection and public acts that remind everyone of shared obligation. We can describe these practices without preaching. The bell that rings at the edge of a village tells people that someone is awake and watching, which in turn makes the space feel less alone. Think of these acts as a cultural form of neighborhood watch, rooted in faith, in tradition, in very practical social bonds. Now, some very practical guidance for visitors and listeners who might want to record or photograph nightkeepers. First, safety. Attend public, organized sites and go with a local guide or a small group. Avoid isolated alleys or riverbanks after dark. Wear visible clothing, bring a charged phone, and tell someone where you're going. Second, consent. In English, ask simply, "May I take your photo?" In Khmer, a respectful short phrase you can try is "Knyom ai tot rup niat ban de," pronounced roughly "Knyom ai tot robos anak ban de." If you are unsure of pronunciation, ask a guide to translate. Offer something small if a person agrees. Pay a modest tip or buy them a drink. Third, anonymize. When sharing images or sounds, avoid details that could identify vulnerable people. Blur faces or omit names if someone asks. Finally, if you want to share submissions with our show, please route them through our curators so we can vet consent and safety before anything goes public. I want to be explicit about what we're not doing here. We are not glamorizing night labor or framing people's challenges as quaint stories for tourists. The evidence shows us that many night workers do this work because of limited choices. The pattern shows us where community safety meets economic survival. So when you listen closely, ask, how can I support, not extract? If you visit a night market, buy a meal. If you want audio for a personal project, ask first and offer compensation. If you see a safety concern, alert local authorities or a trusted local contact, rather than assuming a poetic solution. Before we close, a small exercise for you, wherever you are. Tonight, if you can, listen for the sounds outside your own window. Is there someone tending a light? A distant bell? A dog that marks arrivals? These small noises are a map of care. People who notice, who hold plain things together. If you're traveling, take a modest, non-identifying photograph or a short sound clip and tag ancient echoes with provenance, where you recorded, what time it was, and whether you had consent. We'll curate submissions on Samnong's YouTube channel and social feeds, only after we've confirmed consent and safety, of course. Share responsibly. Honor the people who keep the night. To summarize, nights in Cambodia are kept by a network of people: pagoda sentinels, market shift keepers, river lookouts, cemetery attendants, and neighborhood volunteers, whose small, disciplined acts of care shape safety and ritual. Apprenticeship and reciprocity sustain these roles. Rituals like bell ringing and lantern circuits bridge the practical and the sacred. If you photograph or record, do so with consent, anonymity when needed, and an ethic of support rather than extraction.
Thank you for walking the night with me. If this episode resonated, please share one modest night image or sound, non-identifying, consent verified, and tag Ancient Echoes and Samnang's YouTube. We'll weave some responsible submissions into upcoming reels. And remember, let's unlock the echoes of history together. Good night, and listen closely. There are always guardians on the other side of dusk.
In the quiet of night, I whispered my plea, holding her close, hoping for her decree. I called upon spirits, asked them to guide, to take her heart and lead her by my side. So I drew her near, traced her brow so fair, my sight is way. sacred power, Swahi, mighty spirit awakened. By the master's right, let her heart be gently taken. Let her follow me now by vow and by sign. I hear these words, oh teacher, witness this plea. Oh, my sacred power, Swahi.